I'm Mike Mitchell. I was a wide receiver at Santa Clara from 1969 to 1972. I was a teammate of Clyde's.
Hello, I'm Russ Anderson. I was fortunate enough to be his roommate for football. He was the first person I met at Santa Clara. I don't think he trusted me because I was a quarterback also, and we were going out for the same position.
During our sophomore year up at Reno, I finally got into a game as a tight end, which I never practiced, and Clyde was the quarterback, and I was supposed to run what's called a wheel route. It was my big chance, finally show Coach Malley what I had, and Clyde called an audible, and he looked at me as soon as he did it, and I kind of turned and looked at him from a stance, and I said, "Bleep you, Clyde." And he gave it the kind of the shrug with his shoulders looking down at me. Needless to say, it was a running play, and we punted on the next down. So that took care of my chances.
Somehow we made the traveling squad freshman year to the Villanova game. And we stayed in New York, practiced at Fordham. Clyde goes, "Hey," it was he and I and Jeff Silvera, and he goes, "Let's go to Bachelor's 3. And for a lot of you people that don't know what Bachelor's 3 was, it was a bar that was owned by Joe Namath. I really, truly don't remember if we had a beer or not, but I guess that we did. And nobody's in this place, not one person, except the bartender and the cocktail waitress. And a limo shows up, and Joe Namath and his girlfriend, Susie Storm, come out and walk in. And so we run back in and follow him in there, and we sit down, and I'm sure Clyde said, "Hey, send this guy a beer," Joe Namath. And Joe came over to our table, said, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" And we said, "Well, we're playing a team in outside of Philadelphia." And I'm from Pennsylvania, and hey, good luck, you guys. You didn't have to buy me a beer. I own the place. But we just said, hey, this is the only way we're going to get to meet you. So Clyde had a pretty good plan on that.
You have to understand, at that time, he was replacing Dan Pastorini, who was the number 3 player taken in the 1971 draft. And I don't think for the next 2 years anybody worried about that. Clyde was well prepared. Physically and mentally, he was terrific.
One time he really took care of me. In the 4 years that I played football, I was never in the end zone with the ball in my hand. So we're playing the alumni game, and I'm sitting next to Mitch on the sideline, and Clyde had said something, "Well, you just got to get open however you can." So I'm sitting next to Mitch, and I go, "Watch this, Mitch." And they call the play, and I take off from the sideline, behind the defensive back, go and turn, make it kind of look like it was a legitimate pattern. 50-yard touchdown pass right in my arms. Unbelievable, perfect, full stride in the end zone. The refs are all looking around like, wait a minute, how did he get there? Nope, they gave us the touchdown. Mr. Malley was not very happy, and but Clyde he and I were like, "Hey, thanks, buddy. You got me in the end zone."
He hated to lose. Cards, dominoes, tiddlywinks, basketball, football, tennis. He hated to lose. And so he carried that definitely over to the football field, and everybody knew that he was going to give everything, to win a football game. He
beat me almost every time I played cribbage with him. And I didn't want to play anymore because I kept losing. It wasn't anything fun. So he said, "Hey, wait a minute, Russ. We're going to have the Caribbean Championships, and we're flying back from the Caribbean to the mainland." And he said, "Let's one more time." And I said, "Okay." So obviously, I beat him. Clyde didn't talk to me for the whole way back to the West Coast. Thank you, Clyde.
He had the devil and the jokester in him a little bit. He was what we call Eddie Haskell. I remember at the end of junior year, he said to me, "Mitch, you know how we warm up and you run a quick out and the ball always seems to go over your head?" And I said, yeah. And he goes, I do that on purpose. He goes, I just see you I can tell you're pissed. And he goes, buddy, I just want to get you ready for practice. So Clyde would do things like that all the time. He even teased the offensive lineman. Tony Benedetti, he teased Tony Benedetti. I didn't talk to Tony for the first 3 years on the team. I was afraid he'd beat me up just by saying hello. But he teased Tony. But Tony visits Clyde's grave every so often and makes sure there are fresh flowers there. That tells you how our guys felt about Clyde as a teammate.
Well, Clyde, this isn't your first Hall of Fame, as you were a member of the Bellarmine Hall of Fame for tennis, and you had mentioned it's just like going to heaven. It doesn't matter how you get in. Well, this one's for football, and you definitely deserved it.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Clyde. Thank you.